Hello, everyone, and welcome back. A bit of a shorter break, but we're into the moment everyone has been waiting for. It's been a long journey for the Asus ROG Masters 2021 APAC. It's into the finals, into the grand finals at the moment. Once again, joined by Gobbles over here for the entire day, for the entire series. It is going to be between Zigma as well as the Expendables, the Thai powerhouse up against the Filipino powerhouse at this point in time. And this is going to look like an absolute blockbuster, not the first time that these teams have faced off against each other.
Yeah, an absolute juggernaut matchup, and not for the first time. These teams have played each other quite a lot, and if you look at overall the head-to-head record, it does favor the brand core, which is the Expendables roster right now. So a little bit of revenge perhaps on the cards, but in the most recent matchup, it was actually Zigma to best Brand Esports 2-0 on Mirage and El Inferno. But yeah, this is the grand finals accumulation of all the efforts of the different regions this entire tournament. Right, we started weeks ago. Weeks ago, we had the country qualifiers all the way to country finals, and then now we're at the regional finals, right? All the different regions coming together, putting on a very good show for us, right? We've had all these different regions. You've got South Korea, you've had Australia, you've had Singapore, you've had India, all the different regions coming together, and now we're at our final two, Zigma against Expendables. What a tournament it's been.
Yeah, 14 regions, 32 teams in total that have qualified their way through their country qualifiers. And obviously to hear now, determine who's going to be taking home the lion's share of the prize pool. I mean, second place is not too bad, 3,500 US, but you definitely want to be taking this grand finals, not just because it's a bit of prestige. It's always good to kind of be at the winners echelon for Asus ROG Masters. The previous team that took it was Gambit, and you know how they went, obviously, the year before, and the major winners. So it's always going to be good kind of being in the same prestige, taking home 10,000 US dollars as well. You guys at home can be taking things home as well if you have been tuning across these last 4 days, or if you know a couple of friends that have been. I'm not saying DM Gobbles, but he might be a good person to do so. There have been code words every single day. If you do manage to tag all four at your region's Facebook page, so Asus ROG obviously have different regions. If you go to your specific region, use the code words in there, you will have the chance to win some amazing ROG prizes, which obviously, look, free stuff is always good stuff. And that's always been my, I think every single uni student or high school student are always going to be like that. It's anything free is always good. Can't
I
complain
mean,
about it.
a couple of nice peripherals as well, right? But in case you're wondering what the codes are, right? I mean, what you need to do to actually win it, right? You just need to like, share, and comment on the stream, right? The code words that you have been seeing, right? What are the code words? Well, those are words that it won't be new to you if you've been watching the stream or if you just know a little bit about ROG just in general, right? For those who dare join the Republic, those are words that they use all the time. And hint, hint, they might happen to be the code words as well. Thank you very much, production. Today's code word, not gonna hint to you. It should be pretty obvious for you by now. But yeah, a couple of small chance to get a couple of freebies as well. But let's head right into the finals, right? Both these teams, they've been absolutely dominant in their run to the finals, right? Admittedly, Zigma slightly tougher route, right? They had to bypass Huatsai, but they even did so in what was at the end of the day pretty comfortable fashion, comfortable enough, right? 2-0ing their way all the way to the grand finals, and this is where someone unfortunately has to accept defeat at the end, but neither will be willing to give it up.
Yeah, it's going to be the case of, like, I'm looking at Zigma's like pathway pretty much through the entire thing. Obviously, they were the first seeded team from the Thailand region, managed to take down. I'm just looking at their way through at this point in time. Four Seasons Gaming, which I believe was the team from South Korea, or the first seeded team from the South Korea region, managed to have that forfeit victory against Team LZ, who I believe was the first team placed for Malaysia region. Then they managed to take down Team Fortes, which I believe was from. It's always so difficult because, yeah, the second seeded team from Indonesia, and obviously Hotsai, the first seeded team, and our third place team, ultimately the end of the tournament, from Singapore. So in convincing fashion, but I've got a feeling Expendables, they had a pretty easy run on the other side of the bracket. Kind of the grand finals that I feel like if looking at this bracket and we had to pick the teams, this is a grand finals. Maybe some of us would have expected Zigma and Whiteside. That's a bit of a coin flip. We would have expected Expendables to get through, and now we're here. Obviously, the Filipino powerhouse still not putting any foot wrong, really dispatching the opponents of ease in that other side of the bracket, almost making it a little bit look too easy so far.
Yeah, I mean, it almost made it look too easy. I think it's a very good point, right? Also, two owing their way all the way through. First, they took down Do Not Disturb La, third seed from Hong Kong, and then AG Esports, the first seed from Cambodia, HRD Sports, the second seed from India, and then the first seed from Hong Kong as well, 100p in the match that we saw earlier on in the day. Heading to the veto now, this is, really just the middle ground. The three maps that we've seen all tournament long, and guess what? We're going to end off on these three as well. Expendables banning, Vertigo, Zigma banning Dust 2. Pretty standard stuff, all things considered. And then the overpass pick coming in from Expendables, Zigma taking us to Mirage. If you just flip the map picks for both sides, we wouldn't be surprised either, right? And decide on Inferno, this is the perfect way to end off a potential best of three.
Yeah, I think we are actually going to go to all three over here as well. Overpass, it's a case of like these three maps: Overpass, Mirage, and Inferno. The teams are definitely no slouches in terms of it. Expendables. You're going to bet they have a really good read about what's going on both the CT side and the T side. You're going to see Papachula get in the face, get aggressive. On the side of Zigma as well, we saw that Overpass game against Huatsai. That was just convincing. There was no questions about me that they were going to take that map against Huatsai. Against Expendables, obviously, it might be a bit of a different story, but it's a tale to be told, obviously. Quickly looking at the rosters as well, Zigma, there's a couple of interesting ones over there. Obviously, Ackerman as well as what, but don't be afraid. There's still the same names that you do know, Rolex as well as Genius, respectively. And obviously for the Expendables, very similar to that ex-Bren lineup. You're only missing Wits pretty much from that lineup that did some damage in 2020 and 2019. But AZ so far slotting into the roster and looking like a pretty dominant AWPer is going to make Zigma work for the victory. He definitely had a great performance earlier on in the lower bracket against 100 ping, but obviously Zigma is a bit of a different beast right now.
Yeah, there's no way that Zigma give him the same amount of space and the same amount of respect that I think 100p kind of afforded him, right? Just being scared and then picking one by one, right? Those are mistakes that we likely wouldn't see as much from Zigma. I'm not counting it out that I don't think these teams will play perfect either. They've been prone to a couple of mistakes here and there, but I mean, it's difficult to play perfect Counter-Strike, right? What matters most is that the teams do actually showcase good fundamentals consistently across the period of an entire map. And kicking things out on Overpass, that's where it will be pretty important, right? To be fundamentally astute, but also tactically. But this is a pretty common ground for both these two teams. I think no one has come out of veto feeling as though they've got the upper hand, right? For sure.
Yeah, it's an even battleground, especially with the knifer sides. Normally, if you look at a map like Overpass, the reason why you may not be tempted to kind of go to this is if you start on the T side, you're versing a team that has a very good CT side defense. You may feel like you're shut out of the game before you can even do anything. But with a knife round, it means you can really pick the sides that you want to play with and roll forward from there. Now, once again, just looking back at the last time that these guys have faced off, it's not the case of they... Let's take a look, actually, how many times they faced off in HLTV recorded matches. Don't think it's the first time. Don't think it's going to be the last time. The rosters are pretty similar.
Yeah, so head to head, it seems as though they've met each other quite a lot of times, right? So 6 wins for Sigma, 7 for Bren. Yeah, 3 overtimes. I think those are map wins across the board. So Bren ever so slightly just edging it out, but look at overall series victories. Bren, they did manage to score a couple over the Sigma, but as we said, the most recent one. But do bear in mind that's throwback to last year October, right, in the IM Beijing Haidan 2020. It was 2-0 for Zigma. Back then, we had Inferno as well as Train. So, very different map pool now. Oh, wait, no, in fact, the most recent was 10th of January this year between Zigma and Bren.
Yeah,
it was the Mirage and Inferno, yeah.
The 2020 Southeast Asia for Extremes Land at that stage. So, that was, I think, the semi-finals to determine who kind of made their way forward. I feel like I feel like in my mind, this was actually a match either I watched or a commentator I did observing for. I feel like I should know this. But PaperX actually did take that one. So I really have to, it's a bit of a throwback, but I do remember Beyond actually kind of disappeared as a roster afterwards. So they moved forward after this tournament. I think they did disband. So a bit interesting because that was only 3 months ago. Zigma's kind of stayed around a little bit more and they're really the premier Thailand team at the moment. Before it was kind of Zigma jostling for the second and third position, where it did feel like it was the other team that kind of got the better of them most of the time. So it has been an interesting journey throughout all of the Southeast Asian Counter-Strike, where there are a lot of names now that are slowly disappearing, but we hope to see them back eventually. Counter-Strike has always stayed together for a very long period of time. So,
Speaking of a team that has disappeared, right? You mentioned Paper Rex, right? They moved over to Valorant. The entire roster, right? You've got Tommy, you've got Bankai, you've got Mindfreak, you've got Forsaken, and then what's the last player? I can't exactly remember. I think, but I forgot. Pardon me for being a bit forgetful, but you know, I guess an update as well, right? Them winning Extremism 2020 and moving over as a full roster into Valorant. Well, they just crowned themselves champions of the Singapore and Malaysia qualifiers, VCT qualifiers stage 3, which means they will be the SGMY representative in the regions. You know, Valorant.
Yeah. Well, I think it's finished off by Devi, so I think Devi is kind of
right.
So
how could we forget him?
How can you forget Devi? Kalish. The guy from Malaysia dropping numbers to the guys in Singapore. I don't know. As a Singaporean, you maybe hate to see it. As a fan of some of the Malaysian players, you kind of do like to see it occasionally. So, all right. Nevertheless, here we go into the knife round. I don't think it's going to be that decisive in terms of winning the knife means you win the map.
Yeah, and certainly not for these two teams, right? They certainly have very well regimented T-side defaults, and not just defaults, but also strats that you can call off of spawn, right? It's an important round. I think these two teams, they have a very good idea and a very good game plan in mind, but with Zigma being able to take the knife round, at least I think they're likely to go for the CT side at the start. Maybe they might want to throw a spanner in the works, but yeah, I don't think there's a need to risk that, right? Because you always risk getting absolutely blown out of the water if you do decide to start T, and you don't want to leave that little bit of feeling of regret if you would drop your own Mac pick as well if you're Zigma. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Grand finals and Expendables starting off on overpass along with Zigma. And what do you reckon? Do you think they will run away with this? I think it's going to be a pretty close one, all 3 maps, right?
I think I'll agree with you on that one. All 3 maps, it's going to go the absolute distance. Last time that these two teams faced off we're looking back once again to January, so a bit of difference in the roster. I think for Zigma at the time, they didn't have Genius and they didn't have Cigarettes. I feel like it is hard, right, to argue maybe Niffy and PP Overdose are, I would say they're probably downgrades compared to what they have at the moment. Cigarettes has plied his trade for Beyond, and he was part of the team that really put it to Zigma at the time when he was part of Beyond. And even Genius as well has been one of those players that's always been on my mind. He just appeared out of nowhere, pretty much, as like this young kid that just dropped numbers on land, dropped it online, dropped 30s and 40s against much more experienced teams, and kind of also was around the period of time where the Thailand scene was really making its way through in Counter-Strike, where we were starting to sit up and take notice of it. Whereas before it was a little bit less strong. It was always the Singaporean team in terms of Boot Dreamscape or Dreamscape at the time that was king. Then yeah, the Thai teams come through. Now it's a bit of a weird space. You still have some of the Singaporean teams chipping in, but on a good day, your teams like Zigma, your teams like Expendables can definitely take it. Talk too much about the history. It's time to go into now, though, into the pistol round. Expendables starting in that T side. Zigma going to be opening things up. As mentioned earlier, Genius going to take first contact at short water, and now Just Cause also going to be locking down long, as they're going to be taking long.
Yeah, all 4 players in, and it's all in from Expendables, but however, Zigma planted on site. They are able to find the trades, the T's, and push all the way into bank. Ackerman will be given a bit of a test. Grand finals, first a little bit explosively as Micro sends himself in for the 2, goes in for the 3rd as well. Cigarettes able to commit, still doable for sort of Zigma, but it will be Expendables despite going a man down, taking away the pistol. Good start from them, but we need to see them convert the anti-eco as you spoke about earlier. Expendables, no strangers on overpass, no slouches whatsoever, and this is their map choice. So having to start on the T side because Zigma won the knife round, this will be a huge sigh of relief. But can they continue and build the momentum? This is of course the grand final, so no more room for mistakes. A lot of money on the line, a lot of pride on the line, calling yourselves regional champions.
Yeah, also putting to dust as well the contention point about who's the best inside the region after all. Reality doing a pretty good job with that scout. Who's challenging? That's going to be AZ, but not landing a single shot. The counter flash is pretty solid as well. Papachula is just going to switch out the AK to a Deagle instead. Doesn't want to be gifting that one away. So already it's a good start for Zigma as they're forcing Expendables to have a reroute, to have a rethink. There's still a bit of utility for Zigma to use as well. A few smoke grenades to delay the push. You can already see 3 players over here. Smoke on the divider. Got Genius ready to swing short just in case he needs to.
So...
Oh, sorry, Cigarettes, yeah. Cigarettes, sorry, should I say, swinging. What though?
Yeah, flash is good, forces forward off the angle, but they're making their way onto this B side now. 2 players out, Monster. The MP9 and Shot is only going to be able to find just the one, and this is when the rest of the attack will collapse onto the site. Zigma left with a pretty impossible situation for Reality, needing to save the Scout, but as he's on the hunt, I just want to farm out a little bit for the Mag 10 as well. Additional $600 in the bank, and Expendables put away the force buy of Zigma in relatively convincing fashion. This is what you like to see on the T side. Being able to carry over all the rifles, and perhaps maybe even Micro might just want to come in with just a Glock, right? He's gonna ache on the ground for him, I think. But wouldn't be surprised to see a different approach this round for Expendables. Maybe someone can take an eco, but I think there should be enough weapons to be spread out across the board, as these will be the ones sent in with just the Mag 10. And Zigma, nearly the full eco, so should be just a field day. Unless, of course, Expendables run into the stack on B.
Still a tale to be told if they do decide to head towards the B side of the action.
I think we might see a replay of this, probably like 10 rounds this half. Just Expendables being very slow, right? Very deliberate. And of course, the stakes are a lot higher now, right? You've had pretty easy matches to get all the way to the grand finals. But now this is a different caliber of opposition, right? Of course, you know exactly how each other like to play, right? You've played each other on many different maps, and today these are 3 maps that go on Derek Knight, just out of Monster, all on his lonesome. And the rest of the Zigma players are hiding, hoping that this is going to draw Expendables in, but Derek Knight, off the back of the kill, opts to actually fall back, so he wouldn't know this, but in fact, a very wise choice, because there were 4 other players waiting on the other side.
Yeah, he decides not to gift away an AK. He's making a bit of an information play. Expendables were slowly taking the bathroom control. Gonna feel pretty confident. No one's really peeking out. Take a bit of a look about what's going on. Molotov even into Divider at this point in time. Cigarettes now having a bit of a journey. See if he can catch this lurk player. But the CT is going to be grouping up, and has he only really good for one? Double swing from the USP is just a bit too potent. Papachulo always going to be good for some multi-frags. You can see kind of the caliber of the game. Papachulo's not really full sending it.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? When he's versing, I think, lower tier teams, he gets very confident. He just goes, you know what, I can definitely do it. I can just full send it and win a lot of these duels. This time around, though, definitely giving respect to some of these players in Zigma. They're no slouches themselves. And you see Cigarette staying alive, trying to take away a few weapons, but Expendables just cycling through the HP. Not allowing anyone low to really go down, so they stay alive with 4 AKs. Mag 10, it's not the biggest loss, as is going to be able to be dropped over an AK. So very, very solid kind of start from the Expendables. And Zigma had their first gun round. Reality on the AWP. Decent utility across the board, but no kit to play with.
Yeah, Expendables. Now, they have a pretty decent start, but this round will be a taster as to how the half is going to plan out. Right, do Expendables, yeah, they often go for another default, right? So as you said, because it is time to time again, Pro getting flashed into short, and in fact, he's swinging out dry Reality with a headshot angle. Ooh, misses a shot, and gets a lot of information for it. Doesn't, no one exactly tagged down too much. Double nade is good for anyone. In fact, it does more team damage than it does with the opponents. But Zigma, a little bit cautious with the lack of utility as well, right? You can see they're trying to hold on to it as much as possible and not dropping it too early. But they're already down to just 2 smokes and Incendiary, and there's still a minute 13 left on the clock. So Expendables, they know they've had a pretty decent start now. They're going up to take mid control.
Just putting some pressure onto the Divider area and seeing if they can try to force the CTs back into a bit more of a poor situation. You can see Zigma kind of just has to reinforce areas right now, drop a few more of their smoke grenades. Smoke grenade goes out into the Divider. They don't have anything left to hold on the side of Zigma. Only a few flashes for the re-aggression, and that gets that punished so well from Expendables. You had to make a play for Zigma, you had to get some information, but all you've spotted is a death as well as maybe 1 CT. Now Cigarettes has to hold on, wait for the rest of the rotations. Attacks coming out of Monster, and Cigarettes is doing really well alongside Reality.
For Pro and Papichulo arriving on the site, but so too the rotates for Zigma. Re-smoking ABC should be able to get the bomb down, but it's a good task, right? 2 players still very much standing in towards the water position, and now Zigma will just look to swing the last player together. Pro is able to find 1 and plays around with his food just a little bit, but yeah, the rotates have all arrived. Zigma able to close it out with 3 alive remaining, and this will be good for their economy as they manage to carry over an AK as well, right? You're looking at having at least 3 players alive, right? Above threshold where you can drop more weapons than you have to buy, to allow your players to start building that little bit of a bank, which will be crucial heading into the latter stages of the half. But for now, Expendables to be able to get back out another buy. So gun rounds still very much underway.
That said, convincing from Zigma on the hold, even though it's a 4-on-5, just the multi-frag potential as well as the rotates coming in just in time. Good stuff from Cigarettes. He's really that B-side anchor, tries to make sure and enable your players like Genius to really frag it out. Reality trying to challenge, missing a few shots, getting punished for it. Finally, does manage to calibrate pretty well. Under pressure coming in from Just Cause. He's going to deflect that from the Expendables. This is so clean from Zigma at the moment. Even though there's 2 players low on HP, they've got a lot of map control to work with, can get those players out. Let's play the rest of the round.
5 HP left for Reality and Just Cause respectively, so, well, it's still not over yet. Expendables, if they pick the right side, it is still very much possible, but Zigma, you can see the difference in level of gameplay now as well, right? Once they have the advantage, Zigma, they're not going to stick around and fight, right? Against weaker opposition, yeah, they might, right? The players are feeling a bit confident, but at this point, it's about trying to get it done as quickly and as professionally as possible. That's exactly what Zigma are doing. Expendables, just coming out of the cracker now. Not a lot of time left, right? You can see Ackerman with the retake setup. Incendiary will be dropped. He's got a teammate in support on the side too, in fact. And Expendables, they're walking into the A side. I think they're posturing for a save, right? They don't have enough time, and at this stage, looking at the economy, might just be better for them to just hide.
Yeah, I don't mind it too much either. You may argue, well, the rest of the Expendables don't really have cash to work with. On the side of Papachulo, he's going to have maybe about 3.7k. On the side of AZ as well as Derek, they're going to be a lot lower, of course. But they can still manage to make this work out. They can drop a few Galils over, still have a bit of utility. It's better than having half pistols sometimes. At least you have the AKs to work with. Papachulo can go with a Galil. Utility. AZ might have to go down towards a deagle, maybe a pistol, utility backing it up, but you can definitely force into this and still keep it competitive for Expendables on the back of the 2 AKs. Alternatively, you can have a bit of discussion to have a bit of a weird one. Derek's gone for body armor, but nothing else. As is obviously saving for the AWP. Okay, Derek's gone for a deagle. I was about to be very skeptical if he decided to stay with body armor and no pistol.
Well, still have workable amount of utility, but look at how far Zigma have pushed up, right? All the way in the playground. Yeah, good nade. Ooh. Reality. That's the first. And Expendables, you've given up a lot of map control over to Zigma. They still don't know, still unaware of the player up close, right? The more kills Reality gets, the better he's baiting his teammates in. And it seems as though the player behind isn't really needed much at the end of the day, as Ackerman will be able to pick up 2 for himself, Just Cause, despite being so far forward, it's only good for the 1. But well, Zigma, they keep it clean, very clean.
Money starting to build up in the back of these rounds for Expendables. I mean, this is the part where Pro buys and I'm not too convinced by the rest of his team. They don't really have the cash to do so. He's a bit too enthusiastic, and these are like the mini mistakes where in a high pressure scenario, against a much more experienced and veteran team that can punish mistakes like this, it's going to hurt you in the long run. So you're taking time, you all have to force up. So Derek's actually gone for no head armor. You look at the utility across the board, they're just trying to salvage whatever they can. When they could have gone into this round with a half buy, a bit of utility, done some damage, then go into the next one, full kit on their belts, so all the utility in the world, AWP to work with for Azzy as well. Now they're using the utility just to make sure that they don't get absolutely blasted out of the server by Reality. When it gets to the time where, well, they might have some utility.
Genius.
Doesn't
Very
matter.
far forward.
It's like this buy round has been absolutely nullified because Genius decides, alright, I've had enough of playing support, I just want to go frag.
Oh, yeah, and he's on for the ace as well now. Zigma, I just really give it to him, but of course, more important that they do stay alive just cause. No. This guy's prey in connector. Of course, he doesn't know this. But the one, yeah, Micro's taking up this position, and indeed, it will be Genius screaming what in his opponent's face as they basically give him 5 free kills, right? Pretty easy duels onto the first 3. The fourth one a little bit more difficult, but the fifth one pretty easy, all things considered. And Ace certainly gonna help boost morale on the side of Zigma as Expendables now they've lost 4 in a row, and the worst part is these have been quite the blowout rounds, right? They haven't been too close. And if you've got players pushing you left, right, and center, the round prior to this, we saw someone push all the way up into playground, and now we've got someone pushing monsters, so your extremities are being targeted, Expendables. You need to be a bit more careful.
And it's also the case of Derek just full sensitive and gets punished for it. It's also the case for Zigma right now. You're starting to get a bit more comfortable. You're starting to read the rotations. You're starting to go, all right, they're not really doing anything too cheeky right now in these gun rounds. We can play with a lot of units, or we can play just around each other, get the multi-frag potential. Nice shot from Paw Patrol, of course, but one shot does not make a round just like that. Half the round's gone. Don't know where exactly it's gone. It felt like the first 3, pretty good for Expendables. The next couple, just straight for Zigma.
Half of the first half has been gone as well. Right now we're already at round number 9. Expendables, they had the early lead. They were able to put away the anti-egos in pretty convincing fashion, but ever since then it's been all Zigma. Just the op on reality, and this time a response from Azzy as he wills to be green of his own. But can they find opener? That's the big question. Expendables, denied by the Molotovs, will have to play back just a little bit. They eventually do use smoke to extinguish it, but normally you want to see it come out a little bit earlier, right? Because off of it, Zigma, they've taken a lot of forward positioning yet again. Genius has been pushing all this time. You see him on B, and now you see him back on A. Ackerman, Rolex spots the feed of Pro, and just again, Expendables completely blown out of order. Zigma, they've arrived, and boy, do they look hard at the moment.
It just comes down to also just having a really good player that's this is not the first time Zigma has run this strategy on the CT side. We've seen it earlier on today. And touching on that point, 4 players up there on the A side of things makes it leaves a huge gap in that vulnerability in that B site. So your B site actor needs to understand when to get out and when he needs to slow things down, where he needs to fight things out. That's pretty sharp coming out from Ackerman. Rolex, or however you want to call it. Rolling in the money so far for Zigma. That aggression from Zigma can only come from a really good B-side anchor who understands how to stay alive when he needs to drop his utility. Sure, cigarettes get picked off over there at that point, but because he's able to stay alive, drop utility, and make sure that he doesn't get overwhelmed or potentially overwhelmed, it's the key for allowing Zigma to actually come back and go for these setups where they go 4 towards A or maybe a couple more towards unders, or even this time fighting for short control this time.
It's about trying to funnel, right? And I think, by extension of not just knowing, how much of his utility to expand, but also knowing what he needs to do to actually funnel the Expendables over in towards A, right? Putting just the right amount of pressure to deter them from B, but also getting them to go back in towards middle, try and clear that part of the map, and a bit of team damage not going to be too helpful on the side of Expendables. Zigma, they certainly don't need any more help from their opponents.
You can see how afraid Expendables are, because Zigma's conditioned them, where they go, Zigma's pushed A couple of times now towards Fountain. They're going, oh, we have to use all this utility just to retake Fountain. They're getting a bit twitchy around their own smokes, or around that smoke. And by the end of it, 50 seconds, they're finally taking some bathrooms control, where they're taking a few shortcuts. Eric's just walked straight, or they're just hiding in the smoke.
Yeah. You can see now, Zigma completely switching it up, right? Completely passive on the A side now. They send 2 players out towards long, so once again, going for a little bit of a different setup, trying to catch Expendables off guard, but it seems as though the Filipinos, they want to come in towards B. Smoke's dropped at the right time though. 38 seconds left on point once it blooms, so yeah, Expendables, they've cut it a little bit short. Might it be too short, because another smoke goes up for short now.
This multi-frag is going to be absolutely huge for Genius as well. Clutched in, and he hears everything as well. Gets the triple spray down over there at Monster. He is one. And Expendables going to be feeling it. Derek does manage to spot at least one close towards the right of Monster. Ackerman is the only one that can take down Genius at the end of the day. Of course he is. Reality's there to finish things off. And you don't mind for Zigma if you're losing 2 rifles at this point. You're rolling in cash. This is more money than you get if you win the lottery for Zigma. 7 rounds on the Expendables. round's not even looking close because Zigma's just conditioned them. They just have to go fast with these pistols. They need something to start changing the momentum.
Yeah, it's not just, fast to enable them to at least get on the side and get the bomb down, right? But also to just try and, show a bit of a pace change and show to Zigma that, hey, we are capable of switching the pace up on our side as well. So you have to use your utility a bit early, right? That round, because of the fact that they've been playing so slowly, they just allowed Zigma to be willing and free to hold on to the utility. 30 seconds left on the clock, you still got a couple of smokes and incendiaries remaining. Expendables, that's just not good enough at the moment. Certainly capable of doing better, but for now, it's going to be back down onto sacrifices, as players will get flashed out of connector, establishing mid control. Only 2 players that's on site at the moment, so they're heading towards the right place. But the longer they take, the rotates are starting to come up for Zigma.
Still a bit of utility, so Smoke is going to be dropped over there at ABC, or actually the Lurk Smoke out along instead. Managed to take this toilet control, which is really good. 55 seconds, that's going to be the jump up Smoke. They're crawling behind this at the moment. Reality is not in a good position with the AWP at this point in time, especially from that long pressure. He's going to have to rely on the riflers. Ackerman gets away at the little cutout for now, but the deagles from Micro as well as from Azzy, able to make this into a 2-on-2. They do need to get this plant down, but they're getting some forward positioning over here at jump up, and Genius might just be caught out on the timing, but Derek, he forgets gravity. Throws off his aim.
That's a big miss, right? However, Azzy is pushed back into bank, and it is a player to dig Expendables out of the hole they're in right now. It's going to be Azzy, but ooh, cigarettes on the turn. Expects Azzy. I don't think necessarily expected him there, but it's just a casual check, right? And you spot out the feet of your opponents. Azzy, you could see the reason why he didn't fire off there. He wanted to go for a bit of trigger discipline, right? Trying to line up both players, but that's just how the game is going at the moment for Expendables, right? You get a bit of a lucky break, you get a bit of an opening, and you think you might have the round, but Zigma just take it away from you. But at least they got the bomb down, so that's something different for the past 7 rounds already. Still need more.
They're finally able to get a few kills. Otherwise it's been the case of a lot of these rounds haven't been competitive. That was the most competitive they've had so far. They forced it down to a 2-on-2. We're able to make it work. Maybe Azzy is able to lurk around and maybe he's able to get a pick. To see how this one goes. Ooh, Reality, that's sharp. Azzy hasn't missed too many today. Neither is Reality though.
Zigma did look like a different beast in the grand finals. Expendables, not really sure what just hit them quite yet. Going back in for the B execute, but if anything, this would just be way too obvious at this point. Genius, as well as cigarettes playing up close. And yeah, even thinking of pushing the smoke. Yeah, they're gonna sit in it, and good flash going over, push. Will net them just to kill, and in fact, and hope they get advantage off of it, but pushing through the smoke, Ackerman will be able to find the player pushing. Reality is still dead, lines them both up, and Pro, what do you even do now?
He's also been tagged. Missing the shot, but he can rely on the sidearm. Almost butchers that with the P250. But for the Expendables, that was the best chance, and still they just keep running into the meat grinder. They take down 2, they go, yep, there's only 1 player that's going to be over here. There's 2 actually in Reality. And all Reality needs to do is just drop onto the angle. He's got an incendiary grenade to play behind, takes a shot, tags both of them, kills one. And from that point onwards, it was always going to be, once again, another Zigma round. And it just feels so harsh for Expendables. Outside of the first 3 rounds, where it was a force buy, a pistol, and an anti-eco, things have not looked close ever since.
I think they themselves are feeling a little bit flustered, right? Which is why he's going for pace change. Out towards long they go. And Zigma, they've been leaving their part of the map. They decided to leave their part of the map this time. And very fast progression coming up from Expendables. If Zigma aren't careful, they might just lose timing. And in fact, Expendables, they try to wrap back in. They find no one, and so all of that utility, no kills at the back of it. And they've only got a smoke and a Molotov left. So Expendables again looking a bit twitchy. 3 players out towards long for Zigma. Oh dear, this is gonna be a bloodbath. Good flash going over, and the fight will come in. Chulu able to find one. Just Cause though will ensure that Zigma they come out on top of this engagement. And the flash will give away the fact that there are 2 players here, right? Expendables, do they still want to head over to this A site?
I think you have to. Your eggs are all in this basket at this point in time, and Genius has been just tasked with defending over here at the B bomb site. Should hear that rotation leaving. They don't realize there's still Cigarettes, who's just been a little goblin, just hiding away. Micro nearly gets the multi-frag. Micro adjustment, barely enough to do that damage, but he just doesn't have enough in the magazine at the end of the day. So still a chance here for Ozzy. He's going to be sending it straight through Monster. Genius, though, keeping a tab on things.
Okay.
Great shot coming out from Ozzy. 1 on 2.
Yeah. Oh.
You gotta love it, though. Oh, you have to love it, though. He fires a couple of shots, but he's not going to expect Reality to be coming out through this way. In reality, that was a much closer round. Ozzy almost managed to make it happen.
That's a little bit odd. Well, as he's certainly still feeling it at the moment, but his team certainly aren't. Right? The aggressive maneuvers at the opening of the round just completely negated by Zigma, and then the moment Zigma decide to go aggressive themselves, they managed to catch Expendables a little bit off guard out at long, and from there the attack just crippled from there on out. Zigma now on double digits already. Expendables, they've only won the first 3 rounds, mind you. Had it not been for the pistol, this would have been quite a different story. And now, short aggression, is it going to be the answer? No, because they don't find anyone once again. Ackerman in towards the connector, 2-man setup here. Zigma. They've showed so many different facets to the CT side. It's quite amazing, right? This is the difference between, you know, a normal matchup against a mixed team versus knowing that, you know, your opponents are ones that you have a grudge against and you have a lot to fight for.
It's a bit of a grudge match between these sides. A lot of head-to-heads as Just Cause takes a lot of damage exiting out of heaven. Still alive, though. So he can put himself in maybe a one and done. Able to spray down maybe 1 or 2 members. Expendables are gearing up for a bit of pressure over here at short, but there's a couple players over at Fountain. Genius going to be up close.
Ooh, big kill. And this is going to help sell the fake even better, right? You still got 2 players here out in towards the middle, and Expendables, they know they don't have to overextend. In fact, they can't afford to overextend. And Ackerman still in the connector.
It's a bit boxed in. Reality goes down as well. Nice couple of entries coming out from Ozzy at the moment. Just Cause. We're talking about him being 10 HP. Unfortunately, we're also saying he is in that one and done position. The bomb has rotated his way back to A, so Expendables surely should be able to convert this one. Rolex is going to give it a good crack. His rotation pathway is already going to be sealed off.
Yeah. Okay. Good round for Expendables there, and no love lost between the teammates at the end of the round as well. Good fake being thrown in, but courtesy of a couple of kills from Azzy, right, to open up the site. And the more kills he got, the further Zigma would have been drawn in, and good call from the side of the Philippines. But yeah, it's difficult still for them, right? You want to put 5 on the board, but that round it required quite a bit of bait power, right? To decide, hey, we're gonna throw a fake. We need Azzy to do this, and then we need to boost up, and then we need 2 players to start working out middle at a very specific timing. And Zigma, having been caught once, you'll be sure to not get caught again. So now, Expendables switching it up once again, fast towards long, and no one's there to receive for Zigma. So at least they've got quite a bit of map control to work with now, the Expendables.
And should also take a lot of this map control without taking any damage, which is the important thing. They have a lot of utility to work with. They managed to take short water control a couple of times, but you can see double AWP comes out on the side of Zigma. There's a lot of good AWPers on this roster. I do feel like a lot of them can put their hand up and really be that secondary AWPer. Ackerman actually just gets that spray through the monster smoke, which is going to help things quite a bit for Zigma. Not going to help things for Expendables, because it puts a lot more pressure on Ozzy to maybe make this move. That's going to be his undoing.
Yeah, gets drawn in, right? Feeling as though he has to do something off the back of his teammates dying. And with that, Expendables, now you have no idea as whether or not the CT is going to re-aggress up to a shot. You have no information out monster. You just have to go with a bit of blind faith, as they would call it. All 3 players in the bathrooms. And the player picking out Banana will get caught by Reality. That's the bomb drop itself. It's very obvious. Reality is still able to double up. Shudo, not seen too much from him today, and still needs to go back to retrieve the ball. And fast flank so imminent from the playing connector, not even needed because Just Cause is already hard on his heels. Zigma taking the half 11-4, very convincing showing on that CT side, and showing to Expendables that yes, this might have been your map choice, but you know, with no slouches on this map either, with no pushovers, and in fact, we are pretty strong. Zigma, very good position. Of course, it is the CT side though, so it's a different ball game having to move over onto the terrace half.
Oh, it's so hard to play from that CT side because as soon as you normally I talk about pistols. If you win the pistol, it's a bit of a coin flip if you have the right strategy or some of the players are hitting the shots. But this is becoming it's a must-win pistol round right now for the Expendables because if you have 6 rounds, you lose the pistol. Fair enough, you still have enough buy rounds to construct. You lose the pistol round at this point in time. There is not enough buy rounds to construct. You're not really into the half. You're not really giving yourselves a good chance. So, look, 4 rounds is better than 3. I feel like, though, 5 and 6 is definitely the pass score that you want to be taking as the Expendables, especially considering they won the pistol in the first half as well. But that's over and done with. They're going to have to focus on trying to deflect off the aggression from Zigma this time around, who look like they're spreading across the map. Just trying to maybe catch one of these rotations off timing. They've left the bomb over there in T-Connector for now. Just seeing what they can exploit in terms of timing.
It's Red CT's taking long control in the pistol, right? Reason is you don't want to be just sitting ducks for the USPs, right? They've got the range advantage over you all day long, but a little bit of flash, underhand flash from Azzy, that's a creative way to clear it, but the kills still, at the end of the day, they matter most. Papichulo, just good for the one connector, gets traded out. The second underneath the stairs, ooh, a little bit late, but the
this
knife
is awkward.
from cigarettes. And they've got it to B side for free though. Derek, I don't think he expects Ackerman to be this far up close. Oh, in fact, he does. But can he win the fight? Yes, he can. A bit awkward now.
Cigarettes is the linchpin over here. If he's able to take down both of these players on the flank, could actually open it up. But as he's able to at least win one more, and the second one, the very important one in reality, he was trying to rotate out. And so, a must-win pistol, I would argue, for Expendables. Now need to back it up on the anti-eco for Zigma. You got enough rounds. You're going to go for this force buy for sure. Hero AK coming out for cigarettes.
Yeah, courtesy of the knife, right? It's only because of that 1.5k bonus into the pocket. And that's going to allow him to, well, lead his troops out. Just the AK. Scout on reality. CZs and Deagles. Tech 9s.
It's good nade though coming out from Azzy, who's definitely stepping things up at the moment. But if they don't retreat in time, if they push forward like right now, Azzy is going to be sent with a flashbang. The flashbang's good. They line up for him, but Cigarettes is able to just escape with his life. You're going to hear that smoke being dropped over there at bathroom as well. 1 HP, the difference.
Thing is, though, now the AK's been given up as well, right? So Expendables, they know that Zigma have force bought in. This is gonna change the way they play the game now. Still, they've got.
Oh no!
Ooh.
I was gonna say, where is this long player gonna be at? Papachulo should be able to upgrade to an AK pretty soon. Nope, traded out very efficiently from Zigma.
Yeah, Ackerman's still pretty low. They can't retrieve the AK, so it's gonna be on Just Cause, who does have full armor, but Ackerman, yeah, on a slither of health, he will eventually fall. And Zigma, 45 seconds left. You don't have many options, right? You have an AK, you have a scout, so you can take the longer range duels. You've got an AUG on B, and you've got no utility to work with if you're Zigma. Same case can be said for Expendables. Just a smoke, but I doubt it's going to be dropped at this point. It's better to have a gun out.
Either that or a jump scat. You can see Reality is going to take a pot shot and micro. It's going to give away. It's going to be the A site. Reality is going to drop that smoke for jump up. Still trying to find the angle at this point in time. This is really up to Just Cause to really make the impact. And he's by himself right now with the AK. No impact whatsoever. Expendables. A bit dicey towards the mid round, but they hold on. Can't retrieve that AK, unfortunately, for them. But they still, nevertheless, lock that one down.
Right. Just about getting across the line. They don't manage to retrieve the AK, so that's a bit disappointing for them. But nevertheless, it will be the hard part has been done, right? So now Zigma not being able to get the bomb down, will have to just go in for what's essentially an eco. Couple of smokes, a couple of flashes do suggest something fast right out of the gates. A smoke to extinguish the incendiary that Papichulo's just thrown, and then the rest of the team looking to make their way out middle. Papichulo's flash will delay the push just a little bit, but yeah, they're not stopping, just holding W as Just Cause able to for one. But yeah, this is where Papichulo is under a lot of pressure, needs his teammate in support as he getting good covering fire, and yeah, good handle from Expendables.
Only losing a single for Mars, that's not going to be the end of the world. You just upgrade that straight into an M4 or into an AWP if you decide to do so. I mean, Ozzy's going to drop the MP9 over towards Pro, actually. He's going to pick up the AWP. So Pro more than happy to take a bit of a bonus round.
Something fast, perhaps, into short. But Expendables, yeah, interesting to see, right? They've got a few rounds now, so they've managed to almost half the deficit that they had against Zigma. And as he's sending the AWP into his connector for an early peek, but misses his shot. Very uncharacteristic miss. Pardon me. And that's the AWP given over as well, right? You invested everything you had into this round, if you're Azzy. And it's gone in, what, 20 seconds?
You'd back him any day to hit that one,
Yeah.
but he's had a bit of a cold start so far, which... let's see if it's the undoing of Expendables in this round so far. If he's able to get that pick, he's able to not only bring it up to a 5 and 4, by a lot of map control for Expendables to work with. So you can't blame him for making that peak. It's a pretty good percentage play, like this flashbang push to see if they can push away the monster player. So they get all this B site control. Ackerman's going to see 2. Zigma actually thinking about rerouting back to short.
That's a good call, right? So Expendables off the back of this, they expect Zigma to perhaps go fast up back towards A. Because you know there's a couple players, but the swing from Papichulo gets them all the information, but at what cost? His life. And Expendables, if I were them, I think it'd be wiser to save, right? You don't have any lost modes at all as he's out of money. Unless Micro can extend around for 2, then that's when you're looking at it being possible. Does find the first Derek with the trade, and now it's a 2-on-2. HP advantage in favor of the CTs, and Micro yet again good for another trade. Reality. Let's close it out.
58 versus 84 HP. There's a kit for Micro to work with. Smoke's going to be fading, and Reality is just not going to take any shortcuts in terms of the movement. Just going to make his way back to Monster safely. Molotov will die away eventually for Micro to make his play. He's going to clear out close, or absolutely not. He's going to have a suspicion that the T is going to have that fade away over to Monster at short. The problem is there's no smokes for him to play with. There's no utility. He's going to have to stick it and guess. He's clearing out a bit of territory. Reality takes a fight. Now Micro knows he's over at short. Going to tap the defuse, try to force out the draw. And I feel like there's been enough done by Reality.
Oh, no.
That said, though, that's a sharp shot from Micro. Might have enough time to get the defuse. He's got the kit after all at the end of the day. And Expendables, once again, just another round over the board. They managed to take it. 2-on-4.
Huge scuff to find, right? That was essentially the bonus round. You had an MP9 on Pro, that's why they could go for the aggression out at towards Monster. Find a kill, and this is all off the back of Azzy going down very early. Alright, you started off the round with the man disadvantage and you somehow managed to recover it, much less a 2v4 as you already pointed out. So Zigma, I think you did a bit of a wake-up call after that one.
Spacing needs to be a bit tighter in the future. Can't allow opportunities like that to go completely missing at the end of the day. Julo just going to be breaking that door just to allow maybe a bit of assistance, a bit of coverage coming in from short instead. Flashbang, it's good, but the timing from Azzy is just a little bit better to pick off Genius. Just straight blinded. Takes a bit of a risky timing shot, or takes a timing shot. No risk, because, well, you're bailing out anyway. He's going to be rewarded.
And this is going to allow Expendables to play a lot safer on the side. They still got decent amount of utility to work with. For the CT side, I guess something similar can be said for the Ts as well, right? Molotov, 2 Molotovs, 2 smokes, so enough for a pretty well orchestrated execute. But the question will it be all too obvious, right? You have no information towards A at all, and Azzy has got a good idea as to what's happening. The lurk smoke being completely irrelevant because it's playing ahead. So Expendables, they know what's coming. They've got a third play in, just nice at the right timing on rotation as well.
Going to be very confident right now for Expendables. You can even see that Derek's actually pushing up a little bit further ahead. Might be able to get the timing of Reality as the smoke goes away. As he's also dropping a bit of utility. Noise now being made by Reality. And you can see that's going to be Papichulo, sorry, not Derek, that actually is rewarded with a kill. Spotting out the foot, one of these lurkers at Monster. Surely they know it's a B-side attack, but Pro goes in a bit too early. Now it's definitely down to Derek to hold on. And I think he's pretty good at holding on with the AUG.
One from Papichulo on the fast flank will be able to pick up the pieces. And, well, it's still got a little bit expensive on the side of Expendables, right? Considering that you had the man advantage, you had the read, and you had a 5-on-3. Zigma still showing that still pretty sharp. But this CT side is starting to look good for Expendables. So despite how the T half went, Zigma falling a bit flat in this second half. Expendables starting to recover and have the momentum in their favor right now. Let's see if we can take it in their stride. So it's just going to be a couple of pistols now. Cigarettes with the Hero AK. Not really a big fan of that, but you can see why it might work in this context. Where you just need a couple of players to back you up. So not necessarily the worst call still, but you definitely need to have good positioning and be sure that you can get the trade, because otherwise you're just going to be sitting ducks for Aziz. Cigarettes now holding the line. Don't necessarily want to fight against the Oppa as well, right? In fact, he will, and he comes out on top.
A lot of pressure now. It's going to be on... Who is that over at Long? Sometimes the numbers, once again, just confuse me. Pro just has a bit of a drive-by. Papachulo just... I mean, Cigarettes. You're talking about a Hero AK. That is a Hero AK and a half at this stage. He's just cracked open the round by himself. And unfortunately for the Expendables, now scrambling, looking like they've got egg on their faces. They just couldn't stand up to the might of Cigarettes at the end of the day.
Guess what? An M4 and an AWP retrieve. This is very doable on some of Zigma Expendables. You are man disadvantage in reality using the AWP against the Expendables. So Derek can get one. Cigarettes with a 4K to send Zigma back. Finally a round on this T side, and what a round for Cigarettes to find. That round entirely on his back, right? He finds the kill onto the Oppa towards Long. A peek that really should have worked for him, but I guess Peek's advantage, and then they get the second kill onto plain toilets. Expendables, they manage to they drop the weapons, to which Zigma say thank you very much, and they retrieve it. Then it gets used against them. And look, Expendables, they strung together 5 rounds in a row. Zigma, off the back of just one, completely broke up the economy CTs.
It's how close these rounds have really been. Derek is on a bit of a journey. I mean, it's only a couple of USPs and Deagles. Maybe he was trying to catch someone off guard. Maybe he was thinking there was only going to be one lurker over here. And that was going to be Derek spraying down the wall, really showing that short wall who's boss. Maybe punish a bit of over-aggression coming in from short from the CTs. It's actually just going to be a full-side B stack for now. Zigma deciding maybe it's not worth it. Just leaving Ackerman this time around to lurk.
Procedural. I think with Derek going down, right, they recognize that he didn't have a rifle with him, so that's a giveaway that Expendables are basically on an eco this round. So Zigma taking the time, going back to clear every single part of the map, because, well, they themselves, right, Zigma, they stacked the B side in one of the ecos of their own, so certainly aware of the possibility, and playing the percentages right, going back in, clearing every single angle, making sure you've got all the bits and pieces of map control that you need, making sure that you're leaving no stone unturned, right? That is the way to put it for Zigma at the moment.
Well, this is one of the zones that needs to be checked. Surely this is not checked. How is Micro able to get away with this? Well, they not checked. How have they not checked this? This has gone terribly wrong for Zigma at this stage.
Dear.
Micro's only got a USP. He's just James Bond with Cigarettes. He has to find another 4K to bail his team out.
He's got no time as well.
He's got no time. Papachulo's going to go on that. Oh, what do you say about that? Micro, take him out this stage. We've said Micro's bailed them out a couple of times. That's another time. This time he plays it on hard mode. He goes with the USP, no armor. Trigger discipline at a half. All Zigma needs to do is just look down. That's all they needed to do.
They check every single corner, but the one that Michael's in, and he turns it against them. USB headshots onto both players, bombs dropped, AKs retrieved, and Expendables to get gifted around from Zigma. Oh dear.
You can say a gift, but Micro earned that with both of his hands. I mean, that's fantastic USB control. How many times do you see a
So off the back of that flash, Expendables will just go back towards A, right? It's okay, right? Zigma, you can have B. You know, even if you were to be on site, we wouldn't be able to do much with it anyway. So better off just saving that AWP. However, the Molotov's gonna be doing a bit of tag damage onto Derek as he posted up as well, looking for an overextending T, but that's not going to come. And Expendables just waiting for potential exit, looking to salvage an AK possibly. All five members still alive and kicking on the side of Zigma. But yeah, they're being very cautious about this as well, right? Not wanting to give the AK over. Ackerman, the last player to leave the site, will do so via Monster. And yeah, Zigma playing the numbers, and this time it doesn't backfire on them.
Well, it's good to see that they're able to just convert this time around. 14 to 10. Expendables actually took a bit of a more dangerous route. They decided to try to see exactly what they can pick off. Micro, just a few deagle shots. I don't necessarily mind that too much at the end of the day because they are going into the rifles for this one. But you look at this bind, it is a pretty big struggle streak. As he, I think, drops over either a rifle or from us to one of his teammates. There is M4s, there is grenades to use, but I mean, it's only a single kit. That's Papachulo, so if he dies too aggressively, that's not going to help the Expendables.
And this is the round that they desperately need, right? Losing this means that they'll be defending against map point with basically nothing. They've got the loss bonus in their favor right now, but this is the all-in from them. Fast up towards long they go. Ezzy with the opener once again needs to fall back. Can't afford to overstay his welcome. It's been tagged down a bit by the grenade. Zigma looking to hunt down Papichulo in the toilets. And Ezzy still trying to provide covering fire. Zigma come out equal, but as we normally say, right, the trades tend to favor the T's. They've got two sides to choose from. Pro taking a lot of damage in the Molotov, down to half HP. Knows that there's two players out in towards long. Micro relieves a lot of the pressure, but Pro needs to reposition. This is a very tough spot to be. You don't want to get sandwiched by the player coming up banana as well.
Just comes down to timing. Does Ackerman check this corner? Ooh. Oh my goodness. Pro decides to go into bathrooms just as Ackerman clears it. So he's still pretty good with his protocols. You can see Ackerman still looking to push forward, trying to dig out this truck player. How does Ackerman get away with a jumping headshot? At the end, reality is just good enough. It's a FAMAS against an AK, and the FAMAS is garbage. There's no other way to frame it. Zigma's now on match point. Expendables, not much really that you can fight with over here, unfortunately. That streak of rounds has been put to an end. Zigma has been able to find the solution. And for the Expendables, they just did not have enough cash to really dig deep. It was always going to be a grind. They gave it a good crack, but it does look like we're going to Mirage pretty soon with Zigma being in the lead.
Still hope though for Expendables, decent bit of utility to work with, although if you look at the weaponry, it's a far cry from what they would typically like to have. Because of that, they can't afford to take shot control with a run of utility. It's going to be dry from Pro. Right? But the fact is, Zigma, they haven't opted to fight for shot control. It's going to be the fast, be execute, straight up commitment, all 5 members, Micro right in front of the smoke, blind spam, unable to even find one, tags up cigarettes, incredibly low, but Expendables, they need to stand their ground and fight. Derek flash through cigarettes, able to find the trade, Pro with a deagle onto what, beyond 2 now, still doable for Expendables now, as the in 1-on-2 needs to clutch it out, unable to do so as Ackerman will walk through and claim the player at Toxic. Zigma, keep it simple, they keep it clean. It was not so clean towards the end, but they certainly simplified it down a lot, right? No more defaults, just straight up be execute, knowing that your opponents are on the inferior buy. And just, wow, had the first kill gone differently, it could have been a very different outcome for the Expendables, but it will be Zigma to take away map number 1.
Oh yeah, to also look at it as well. The Expendables definitely being gifted a big one with the pistols, but at the end, it was just a case of as soon as Zigma just opened up the gates in terms of finding that T round, that's where the flood really began. There was no stopping that pressure that was just building up, and it is just one of those things where if it's 9 to 11 or 8 to 11, you can still back yourselves as the CT side. You've got a bit of money to work with. You're starting to win a couple of these gun rounds, even though they do come close to 2 or 3 alive at the end of the day. You're still able to get the entries. You still feel pretty competitive. All it takes is a single well-constructed rush or a well-played round from one of the individuals. Cigarettes leads the charge and on one of them over there at Long A with an AK-47. Then it's a B-site push to re-establish dominance. And from that point onwards, Zigma, they were always looking pretty solid to close out the map. They're taking this 1-0 lead going forward into the rest of this grand finals. I don't know. It was pretty convincing for me on Overpass, especially
Yes.
from Cigarettes. He normally is that anchor role, but he definitely wasn't anchoring the scoreboard today.
Yeah, well put, right? Zigma, I think all players stepping up, right? You could see, I think there were rounds also where Genius, a lot of aggression on the CT side, right? Catching Expendables out a couple of times, more than a couple of times, and that led to the first half scoreline being quite lopsided in the favor of Zigma, and in the end, that was enough to carry them over the line, right? Expendables, it was always going to be a tough task, winning the pistol, but then, getting a 5-round streak together, but then losing the second buy to Zigma, and indeed, the thighs off the back of that are able to channel just enough to take themselves over and stealing away the map pick of Expendables, heading into their own of Mirage. But as I said before, middle ground, so it's not too advantageous for them, but certainly a lot of positives for them and a lot of momentum for them to carry over.
I mean, you say there's a lot of momentum and whatnot. There's also a history between both these sides. I mean, I'm trying to look at Mirage in terms of just the hard stats at this stage. It's always been a pretty back and forth map. Bren's been the one that's been able to take it a lot of times in past history. It's always gotten closer. It's always a close map between them. But the most recent matchup, and obviously this is a previous Zigma roster, a core 3 still here between Reality, Rolex, as well as Just Cause. They did manage to take it a lot more convincingly, 16-9. So don't know if that's going to be any indication coming forward into the rest of this game, whether or not it's going to be the case of, is it going to be a clean 2-0 for Zigma? Are Expendables able to strike back with Azzy being as part of the new lineup? Definitely didn't have a better showing on Overpass. Maybe the pressure's starting to get to him a little bit as well.
Yeah, well, a little bit awkward for the Expendables, but well, I mean, map number 2, Mirage, they are still going to be pretty comfortable on that. And fact is, right, they haven't lost on Mirage all tournament long. Same case can be said for Zigma, of course. Different caliber of opposition, but as I said, right, out for revenge, and Zigma looking to continue the run of form they have against Brand. But will it be the case, or will there be a reverse sweep on the cards? Brand and Expendables now certainly capable of pulling it off, right? They've been here before, they've done it before, they can do it again. But against this Zigma lineup looking a little bit more difficult, Azzy, I think, is one that we expected to step up a little bit more, right? I think the shot we remember most is the first gun round where he took the AWP into connector, completely misses his shot and is made to pay for it with his life, right? Granted,